Good evening. There are 195 countries in the world, and each of them reserve the sovereign right to determine what type of or system of government that they would like to operate. And of course, there are many systems, many types, many forms. Now, as a freshly independent nation, Nigeria operated the parliamentary system of government. This, of course, mirrored the system of the British colonialists. And indeed, even after independence until 1963, the Queen remained our head of government. And then, of course, in 1963, Nigeria severed ties with the British monarchy and then created the position of president as head of state. In 1979, Nigeria abolished that parliamentary system of government in favor of a presidential system. And with it, there, of course, became that unique surge or move by Nigeria to become a proper federal republic. And that's what we say we are today. Now, with all the issues that are happening in and around Nigeria, a lot of Nigerians feel that the nation is yet to fully reap the dividends of a federation of states, because indeed that is what the Federal Republic of Nigeria would mean, that we have a unit that has other federating units coming together as one. Now, this is a discussion that started sometime in the past, but particularly in 2017, the APC, which had come into power in 2015, thought it wise to initiate a committee, as a matter of fact, a 23-man committee led by the Kaduna State Governor in the person of Malam Nasir Ahmed El-Rufai. He led this committee, and they had one job, and that was to find from all and everyone in Nigeria, reach out to people, find out what it is that true federalism means to the average Nigerian. And they went to work in 2017. They came back with their report, and somehow that report, let's just say, followed the way of many beautiful reports that has come out from Nigerian committees. The committee did its due diligence, did the job, submitted its report, and highlighted several things. As a matter of fact, 12 very important issues. But we're not going to go through those 12 today, because Kaduna finds itself, in a unique place where the matter of insecurity is such that we have people reaching out to let the governor understand that, they are with him in prayers. And particularly, I'm talking about the General Overseer of the Redeemed Christian Church of God. He was here in Kaduna State to lend support because of all the things that have been happening in Kaduna State. Talked about prayers and all of that. And in his reply, the governor said, yes, these are issues that really do need divine intervention, but also there is need for man to do his or her own part. Now, like I said, that report went somewhere and was lying there until quite recently. And once again, we come back to this matter of insecurity, until when the senator representing Kaduna Central, the central senatorial seat, decided to dust up that report and take a look particularly at that creation of state police. Good evening. My name is Jacqueline Adebija, and you're welcome to Spot On. This evening with me in the studio, I have Barrister Francis Koza and Emmanuel Ado, both of them passionate about Kaduna State, have been doing great work in different areas as pertains, peace. The fact that we need it for development and growth is not lost on any one of us. But these are two men who have been trying in their own capacity to lend support, give a voice to the right thing. And so, of course, this evening, I'm glad to have them because there are worries about the creation of a state police for the federating units in Nigeria to have their own security outfits. And that is why both of you are here today. Welcome, gentlemen. Great to have you.
Thank you very much, Jackie.
It's good to have you here. Now, let's go back a bit to history. History, of course, tells us, oh, by the way, quickly for your information, we're live on Facebook. And what I would really like is that you start to send in your reactions, your thoughts, so that I can take them up, so that we can maximize time, because we might not, because of the bulk of what we're talking about today, we might not be able to take calls. So let me be taking those comments, as we go, so that as I'm reading it out to them and they're giving us their thoughts on this. Now, like I said, let's go some ways back. And what history tells us, when we take a look at the likes of militia groups, one would call it, like Boko Haram, the Egbesu Boys, Masob, IPOB, the OPC. A lot of people say that these are groups or militias that were started by elites, and in many instances by the political elite. As a matter of fact, there are those who say that Operation Wetie, in those days, and some riots that took place in Tivland actually led up to that 1966 coup. Now, if we are to go by history, you know what they say? They say when a people fail to know their history, they're bound to repeat the mistakes of the past. The setting up of security outfits, in quote, by the political elite. Is it exactly what Nigeria needs at this time, especially when we take a look at the political climate? Let me start with you, Barrister Koza.
Well, thank you very much, Jacqueline. First of all, you agree that Nigeria is currently operating a federalism. And by federalism, it means that there is a federating unit. Isn't it, that units have agreed to come together and form a government and run the government? So if that is the position, and that's constitutional, that's lawful, that's constitutional, then it means that the subnationals, or the states as we call them in Nigeria, also should exist in all ramifications of governance. In all ramifications of governance. And by all ramifications of governance, it means to include the judiciary, the legislative, and the executive, and then the parastatals under these different arms of government. Now, of course, security is very vital, very, very vital, and it's very important, because without security, there can be no development. And we also agree that in this country, we have all along run a unitary security system. The soldiers are there. The state doesn't have soldiers. The state doesn't have police. Even paramilitary organizations like the National Civil Defense Corps, they are all federally owned and managed and controlled, leaving the state where the people reside.
But Barrister, sorry to cut in. This is what we have constitutionally, isn't it? I think it's in section 214, right, of the Constitution. We have that legal backing for a unitary system. So
that's why
go ahead, Barrister.
Yes, I just want to learn.
Yes.
Now having having analyzed this situation and having come to the fact that Nigerians reside in the states, and not at the federal government. Nigerians that reside in the state need security. The guy in charge, who is the chief security officer of the state, does not have a platoon to enforce security. There lies the importance of operating a full federalism for the security agencies in Nigeria.
Let me come to Emmanuel Ado. One would now ask that, shouldn't it be simpler that we should be crying out for more to increase the number of federal police that we have? Because we've heard that we have a shortage in the number of policemen and women. Of course, I use that term, policemen, generically. So we've heard that there's a shortage of policemen in this country. Yeah. So wouldn't it be simpler to just actually ask that we have more people employed so that more people can be deployed to more states? What is wrong with having federal police increased?
I think it's important that the listener understands this conversation. First, what we are concerned with is the 4 bills by Senator Uba Sani, Kaduna Central Senatorial District, that he has introduced. It has gone through the first reading. And what is the purpose of this bill? If you remember, like you started, you said the Nasiru El-Rufai True Federalism Committee,
right.
They submitted a report. You must commend the All Progressives Congress of Nigeria. Whether they have acted or not, the bottom line is that now people like Uba Sani, people like Abdul Kwari, people like Dati are taking up very critical areas of these bills, of the reform, the True Federalism report, and acting on it. So like we said earlier on, the problem, like my friend said, we are a federal system. We run a federal system of government.
Right.
But because of our past, the military intervention, the military did everything to suit their own unitary system of command. So you have a federal police, of course, then the armed forces. We don't expect the states to have armed forces. When you have a federal system of government, the constituent units, they devolve part of their powers to the federal government, especially in the areas of foreign affairs, defense, and all that. You understand? But we had a situation where, because of fear, we have refused to move forward. And that has held the country backward. It has held us down. Now, like he said, a governor, Nasiru El-Rufai, is addressed in borrowed robes, Chief Security Officer of Kaduna State. But Nasiru El-Rufai has no iota of command over a recruit of the Nigerian police force. He must take instructions from the IG. If there's a problem in Kajuru, for instance, El-Rufai can only call and say, police, what are you doing? He cannot force police to go. This is the importance of the work of that committee, and this is the importance, the crucial bills that Senator Uba has introduced to say we are a federation. Obviously, like Nasiru El-Rufai said once, he said, when I became governor in 2015, there were 13,000 policemen and women in Kaduna State. Due to retirements, due to transfers, due to death, we now have 9,000. Kaduna State is about 10 million people. And you have 9,000 people providing security for a state of about 10 million people, not to talk of Lagos or Kano that are 20 million. So it's an abnormality.
So this would mean
which is what that true federalism. It is not limited to police, to community policing or the issue of the workers, the right of states to determine what they will pay, which is another bill that is before okay, as we speak now, of the 36 states of Nigeria, about 33 states are facing one crisis or another. So that has brought up that has made the issue of security to come to the front burner.
Mm-hmm.
You understand?
Mm.
So now where do we go from here? Those bills, there are four. Of course, they would seek to amend the constitution so that you have a federal police and then you have community police for states. It's very, very important. Now, I've read the bills, foresighted. Of course, like you know, it's a long haul.
Mm-hmm.
It will go from the Senate, it has passed first reading. It will go to House of Reps. And when it is adopted, of course, it will now need the concurrence of 24 states to pass into law. So what that bill, if you look at Operation Yaki that is already in place in Kaduna State, for instance, is wholly funded by Kaduna State government. So I believe Kaduna State has the capacity to fund a community police. I believe Kaduna State is going to sign off because it has serious security challenges. We must not allow fears to hold us back. We need to move Nigeria forward, and not only on this bill, there's resource control, states to control their resources, pay tax to the federal government like it is done in every other.
I do know we talked about that. There are actually 12 very important
bills
that were brought out from that report.
So the people must understand that there's no perfect system. As we speak now, America is grappling with issues, police, white on black violence and all that. But the system is there. George Floyd, the local council had to pay $27 million to his family for his unlawful killing.
Mm-hmm.
So there will be checks and balances. But if you ask me on the balance, we need community police.
Okay, let me come to the barrister. You know, listening to Emmanuel, what I'm getting is that instead of asking for an increase, it's not as much as it's about numbers too, but it's not as much as about the control that the person experiencing the problem has over the people who are, supposed to do the job. Yes, you were going to say something.
Yeah, that's what I wanted to nail down. You see, it is not a question of number. Yes, we need number.
Mm-hmm.
We need an increase in the number of security in the states and in the local government and in the villages. But the command structure is very important, because even if you have police in the villages, you have police in the local governments, you have police in towns and villages, and they cannot command them to do this, to do that, then it's become a big problem. So the restructuring we are talking about is to enable the guy who is saddled the responsibility of maintaining law and order in the state to be able to have some people that he can command and say, go here, do this and do that, and they will go promptly without the man saying, let me get permission from ABCD. So that is, again, very crucial as far as ensuring working for security is concerned in the states.
Yeah. So that, of course, would shorten the time of response.
It's critical. Response time is critical.
Very critical. Right.
It's critical.
Okay. So let's quickly move on to, because there are quite a number of fears, and I would want for us to cover at least, if not all, many of them before we have to go this evening. Another fear is there's widening inequality in amongst the states. Some up there and some down here, as witnessed, as a matter of fact, during the minimum wage debate. There were states who were saying, look, we've not even been able to meet up with this 18,000 per month as minimum wage, and you're asking us to lift it up to 30,000, while some other states did not have a problem with it at all. And so, of course, this will transcend to other things. Like, how many states would be able, from their internally generated revenue,
to set up
this kind of committee? Are we not going to see a widening gap? And I hear that the federal government is saying we are willing to step up, help those states that are unable to for the meantime. But I mean, for how long?
Okay, I'll meet you. If you read that bill, you'll find that there are provisions in that bill for states that are not able to, that will not be able to set up their community police, that the federal government, and on the invitation of the governor of that state, the federal government will provide that state with security, pending when it is in a position to. You talked about, hold on, you talked about revenue.
Right.
Like I said earlier on, Kaduna State, if you see all the vehicles Nigerian police use, you will see donated by Kaduna State government, whether it's the power bikes, whether they are the vehicles, ambulances or whatever. So definitely the states have been funding police commands in their state in terms of allowances. For any policeman that is killed in action in Kaduna State, the Kaduna State government pays an insurance of 1 million naira. I think that came out during the presentation of the Security Situation Report 2020. That came out. So, again, about restructuring, we are concentrating on Uba's bills because, of course, it is giving us a headway. But there, like you acknowledge, there are 12 critical bills that the committee in its wisdom, the beauty of that report is not just that they said, yes, we need the federal government to devolve some power to the state. The committee also went ahead to draft bills. So for many members who are serious-minded like Ubasani, all they need to do is to take any particular area of their fancy and work on it with some amendments, and then they will take it before the Senate, and then we'll have a new law. So part of what that committee also looked at is the issue of if the federal government is devolving power, like they are asking, take your hands off this issue. Take your hands off this issue. The states are in a better position. Part of why we have abandoned projects is because the man in Abuja is more concerned about awarding contracts than the impact of a project on a community. So, if we have devolution of powers, federal government hands off some of its powers, we would not see Kaduna setting up what it doesn't need, because it will look at the reality and say, yes, I need a hospital here. I don't need a hospital here. I need a health center here. I need a hospital in Kaduna town. So those kind of things. So federal government, when all this happens, is supposed to give up part of what it is taking. It's taking more than a fair share. They will say lion share. Out of the money coming in, it is taking a lion's share as part of the reforms that we need. Because
I need to hear from Barrister.
Okay.
Let me say something. Barrister, there are several things that Emmanuel Ado has raised, and he talked about Kaduna State. I do understand he's, because Kaduna has done pretty well, more than, was even expected infrastructurally, and, the revenue being raised at state level. But we also have to understand that Kaduna is connected to Katsina. Kaduna is connected to some other states that, might not exactly be doing as well as Kaduna is doing. And we also know that the security situations in those states can actually affect, Kaduna State. So when we're talking about Kaduna setting up, for instance, Kaduna setting up its own state police, and just for example, a place like Katsina is unable to, and the federal government is helping. So a lot of questions arise from that. the federal government is going to be financing Katsina, for instance, for how long? From whose money? Because we are looking at states contributing to the federal when this devolution does happen. So at whose cost will federal be helping a state like Katsina? I'm just using Katsina as an example. At whose cost? And then, of course, for how long are we going to have federal supporting a state like Katsina in an instance where Katsina is unable to set up on its own?
First of all, we all know that security is number one priority. If you don't secure your people, there's no development that can take place in that area. So I don't believe that there's any state government sincerely that cannot fund state police. Why? Because security is paramount to development. In fact, if you provide security for your people, for your state, every other thing you can forget about it. They will be able to earn a living and go about their business. So number one, I don't believe that in Nigeria as a whole, that there's no state that cannot be able to afford to establish a state police to secure its people. It's a question of prioritizing. And secondly, thank God that the proposed bill have provided a solution in situations where any state claim that it cannot. They said they'll come and supplement and support you, pending when you are able to set up. So again, that is another area. And I want to believe that if my state can secure my people with the police, I should not be held back because state B cannot. I should not be held back. I should move forward because that is very important. In your house, if you cannot be able to build or to supply food, rice to your people, you shouldn't say that because your neighbor cannot supply rice to his children, so you don't give them rice or send them to school. You should be able to take care of your home.
Barrister, questions arise from that. Yes, if you're unable to, if your neighbor is unable to feed his children, you do not think that a time will come when those children will jump the fence and enter yours?
You can support. There's no doubt about it. There's a room for support.
Synergy.
But the most important thing is that because your neighbor has not been able to discharge obligation, that should not stop you from doing your own obligation. Because the state A, Zamfara or whatever state you do, that cannot be able to afford state security, you cannot just say because of that, the Kaduna State should not. If Kaduna State can afford it and establish it, in fact, it will serve as a precedent for them to follow. When we started this IGR, when we started this IGR, internal revenue generation, and we lifted our IGR to a particular level in this country, to the best in this country, other state government were coming to Kaduna State to learn how can we be able to move our own to that level that you have moved your own. And we had
without raising taxes.
We had discussions with them, and we give them some hints. So if we establish a viable state police in Kaduna State, other state will come. Kaduna State has always been a pace setter for people in all ramification. And so we continue to set the pace, and other people will come and learn, and they'll go back and set up. We can render technical assistance to them.
Before we go on a commercial break,
it's important. It's important. I just add this to what he's saying.
Okay.
Kaduna State. If you look at what El-Rufai has done, when he came in for his second term, one of the first things he did was to create the Ministry of Internal Security, because security had become an issue. So he created that ministry, and if you hear him speak since 2015, 2019, you hear him talk about true federalism, because he understands the power that it will unleash both on the states and the people. So what is the root of all the crises we are facing now? The root is you have agitations, resource control. Now, El-Rufai, if you ask me, all the people that have taken up the bills, Garuba Dati, Senator Obasani, Senator Kweri, they are all northerners. I've not seen somebody from Southwest where the agitation
I was just about to ask you, why are we not seeing support?
No, that goes to tell you, who is more serious about an issue, on any issue, than the other. because there's no senator from the Southwest where we have heard true federalism, through the record almost to the point of breaking. That what we need is true federalism, what we need is, and here we are now. The National El-Rufai Committee has done this. Only Uba Sani has done 4 bills. Kwari has 1, Garuba Dati has 1. And very, very fundamental bills, because whether it's Oyo State, whether it's Kaduna, whether it's Delta, whether it's Bayelsa, every of these single states have serious security challenges, which is why, for me, kudos to Senator Uba Sani for taking the bull by the horns.
All right.
Yes.
Let's go on a quick commercial break. When we get back, I'm going to be running through those 12 points. I think it bears reminding the 12 points of that True Federalism report that was headed for the 23-man committee headed by the governor of Kaduna State. Do stay with us. You're listening to Invicta 98.9 FM. Well, thank you for joining us back once again. You're listening to Invicta 98.9 FM. With me in the studio today on Spot On is Barrister Francis Koza and Mr. Emmanuel Ado, talking, putting our heads together and trying to find a way to better understand the need for, amongst other things, state police or community police, as some others would like to call it. Of course, we're talking about everything that stemmed out from the 23-man committee that was headed by the governor of this state, talking about Malam Nasir Ahmed El-Rufai in 2017. As a matter of fact, we hear that they actually met right across the country with about 8,000 plus people, and came up with about 24 issues that they were able to distill into 12 points. And of course, they did submit their report. Of these 12 points, just to refresh our memory, because of course, we know now that the likes of Senator Uba Sani has decided to pick up, particularly on the matter of state policing, to sponsor that bill in the House. We know some others who also have sponsored bills like this out of the report that was brought out by this 23-man committee. Just to refresh our memories, allow me run through those 12 points quickly. Now, that committee talked about the merger of states. Of course, states that are unable and have proved unable to take care of themselves since their creation. There was also the issue of the derivation principle. I'm sure that is another issue that quite a number of people are passionate about, a lot of Nigerians anyway. Devolution of power, the third one. Fiscal federalism. We'll be going into some of these as the weeks go by, but, just to refresh our memory, independent candidacy. Of course, the judiciary getting to be completely autonomous and having a unitary judicial system within our own federal system, local government autonomy, revenue allocation, citizenship, referendum. That's a very interesting one, because I do remember when Britain held a referendum with its other states, would I say, in the United Kingdom. You remember that time when, talked about Brexit and the rest of it. It was due to a referendum that was held. And this committee actually came out with that look, there's no provision for referendum in the Constitution. And it would be great to take a look at it. Public holidays becoming more local than national, and of course the matter of state police, which is the one we have picked up on today, particularly because we have a senator of Kaduna who is championing that bill in the state, in the federal house of the National Assembly. That's what would call all of them, plus the lower and upper house. But Uba, of course, is in the upper house, and he's championing that. We know. Now, let's quickly. But I want us to do a thorough job on this matter of the state police. And another thing that I would like to ask you quickly, because as the time is not on our side, Nigeria, in the whole of West Africa, we hear that Nigeria has over 70% of illegal light arms. the proliferation of light arms, Nigeria actually carries 70% or more of that burden as West Africa goes. These people who will be employed to be state police, will they or will they not be allowed to carry weapons? Because some people say if you don't allow them to carry weapons, how effective are they going to be? If you allow them carry weapons, how do we manage that situation properly so that we do not have the kind of situation we see playing out in the United States of America today?
Okay.
Emmanuel, okay, you want to go?
You know, we can allow ourselves. Well, there's an American president who said the only thing you should fear is fear itself. You understand? Before I answer you, I want to say something, because the quality of a representative is being alive to his responsibility, to his constituents. If you go with the situation, 2020 situation report submitted, presented by Samuel Arwan, Honorable Commissioner, Internal Security and Home Affairs. Senator Uba represents Kaduna Central, and that report concretely proved that the brunt of attacks is in the senatorial district, be it kidnapping, be it the number of people killed, be it animals rustled. So kudos again to a senator representing Kajuru, Breningwari, Igabi, Giwa. They are frontline areas of attacks. So it's very, very critical, minus this being an official policy of the APC, the issue of true federalism. This is what we demand, and this is what we would like to see from representatives. So I expect somebody like Yakubu Barde, Chukun Kajuru to join Senator Uba, because he represents Chukun Kajuru, which you know is facing security challenges. So we also expect that the member representing Breningwari, Igabi, Giwa will also lend a hand of support. Uba is pushing, is leading, but we need these representatives to raise their game and support this noble effort. Be that as it may, you were talking about whether this state community police will be allowed to carry arms. All these are issues that will be, if you ask me my personal opinion, yes. With good training, they can be allowed to carry arms. The issue of the black man's bomb, which is what you call light arms, it's a very, very big issue for us, with the collapse of Libya, with the Mali, right, and all that. So the federal government, it's a win-win. Restructuring the federal system and then devolving power, and then in this case allowing states to have state police, community police, and all that, means that the federal government itself will have more men. They will have more men. If Kaduna State creates its own state police now, the 9,000 police that we have here would go back to Abuja, and then they can be posted to the border. The other services, civil defense, can be posted, because Kaduna now is going to do its own recruitment. It's going to try to take care of its state borders. So it's going to be a win-win. Those policemen and women, those other security agencies that have been freed, will be able to go and effectively man our borders. I think that's critical.
Barrister Koza, we are in a country where ethnic and religious bigotry has risen to very frightening heights as is right now. How do we know that if we were to go the way of state policing, that we would not have those state police harassing unnecessarily just, people who they feel do not belong to their area?
Well, the problems you have just cited are problems we are currently facing. And currently we don't have state police, isn't it? So they are not a creation of state police. Because at the moment we don't have state police. And yet these problems have reared its ugly head. And the national
police harass people based on the fact that they don't. Do we have that?
We have the federal police have found, what is it? What of the SARS protest? Isn't it as a result of police brutality, of abuse of police power?
Right.
So they have existed and they are continuing to exist. The point I'm making is that the creation of a state police with proper discipline, with proper training, and with proper provision of infrastructure, they would be able to do their work constitutionally as provided in the Constitution. So I think it's a solution to even this problem that you have just narrated. I feel strongly that with a state police, we are going to be better off than having only a federal police. And we talk about arms. I don't see any situation where you will have police, state police, without arms. They must have arms, because without arms, they'll be harmless. So the question is, they must be trained in such a way to know how to use the arm in accordance with the provisions of the law.
No.
And anybody who abuse the arms entrusted to him to secure the people will be brought to book. That's it. So you don't fear the abuse and fail to do the right thing. The right thing is the moment they come on board and you train them and you equip them and empower them to do their work, any abuse of power will be brought to book. The laws are there to punish them. And so you must make sure you punish the culprits. And that will serve as a deterrence to other people not to follow suit. All these problems we have been having is the failure of the system to punish either policemen or anybody who has breached the law. If you use the law and breach the law to enhance your religious opinion or your ethnicity, then the law will come after you and you'll be punished. And once you are punished, as I said, it will serve as a deterrence for others not to do so.
There's provision for state police commission, and it will be in charge of discipline. It will be in charge of promotion. And like Francis said, the issue will be that of training and retraining and retraining.
Quickly, gentlemen, they say
yes.
Absolute power corrupts absolutely. How do we know that a despotic state executive, for instance, will not decide to use this power to even break away if it's what he feels like, to break away from the unit, from the federating unit, as a whole, if given this kind of power, which a lot of people seem to think is actually giving absolute power now to a state executive? How would you address this?
Remember that the federal police is still on ground, the soldiers are still on ground, and these are instruments of coercion. They will be brought in situations as you are just narrating.
Mm-hmm.
If somebody wants to breach the law and create anarchy and break out, the military is there to be brought in to control and bring law and order and restore law and order in the state.
There will be checks and balances.
Remember again that doing that is a criminal offense.
Treason.
Mm-hmm.
They can be picked up and be prosecuted and so on and so forth. So there are checks and balances that will be on ground. And I don't think any guy will go so crazy as to think in the present Nigeria that he will think that one state will think that they can muzzle enough power to seize a seat from the federation. It's not going to be possible. And also that we're talking about a referendum. If you feel strongly that you want to belong, you can use the process of law. the referendum process will be there.
Will be there.
And if you can be able to carry it through, why not? You can go your way.
Just as the last line, the APC has quite a number of governors. I don't have the number on my, on the tip of my fingers right now in the south of Nigeria. And, going by what Emmanuel Adu was talking about the other time, that one would expect that in the south, where they're also facing some of these issues, we should have seen more support for the likes of for Senator Ubasani, who has...
No, he has the support. So he's gone through the first reading. And
from the south, I'm particular about the south of Nigeria.
The point I was making was that considering that the clamor for true federalism has been more from the southwest, one would have expected that some of these critical bills, minimum wage, 4 bills by Oba on community policing, and then the one by Quarry, that they would have been championed by people from Southwest, especially because they've been on this issue of true federalism for a long time. But be that as it may, of course, for the bills to have gone to the stage next reading, it enjoys support because it's an idea whose time has come. That's my take.
Well, just let me just say something. That the southern part of the country have enjoyed the regulation, isn't it? They have enjoyed regulation.
How so?
NNDC thing, all this derivation, and so on and so forth. So the importance of owning the resources within your domain, within your state, they are enjoying it more. They are giving them more.
Just 13%.
Exactly. They are enjoying 30% derivation at the moment. And so the importance of that will spur them that, look, let us try and empower the state and reduce the power at the federal and bring it more to the state, and you stand the chance of enjoying better. Look, let me tell you, Kaduna State is so good. Why? Because when you talk about the independence of the legislature, independence of the judiciary, Kaduna State have set up the Legislative Service Commission and sever it from the Civil Service Commission. Yours sincerely is one of the guys that is managing the Legislative Service Commission. And all in preparation of devolution of power. That look, Edify is saying, I don't care about controlling the legislature. Let them be on their own. And they have set up the Legislative Service Commission. And we are working there trying to strengthen it and make it better as an arm of government. So I think these are things that I've always said that Kaduna State has always been the
prayer and the hope now would be that other states follow suit.
I pray the other states will follow suit so that Nigeria will be better for all of us.
That would be the prayer, Francis Koza, because indeed, the states are not obliged to follow suit. We only have good people who want things to work, doing this, like we see in the person of Nasir El-Rufai. But there is no assurance, that this is going to happen in other states.
Yeah, but there's peer review group, part of the Governors Forum.
But is there anyone who will be held to account?
As we speak now, for instance, now, Kogi State Internal Revenue Service are in Kaduna. They've been in Kaduna, taking a look at what Kaduna State has done. And of course, Francis would always be proud of the work they did in CAD IRS. And I'll tell you something. Yes, it's good enough for them to say they want to come. But again, it takes political will, which is where Nasir El-Rufai has no comparison. You understand?
It's not just Internal Revenue Service. I want to tell you that a lot of many states have come to the Kaduna State Legislative Service Commission to see how things are done. We have given them a copy of our law, and we have discussed with them on how we can help them set up their Legislative Service Commissions.
In closing, gentlemen, we've run out of time.
Oh, thank you very much.
Support, that's what you're saying, that the people of Kaduna should support this bill. Because, like you said, it is an idea.
Which time has come.
In fact, not just Kaduna, the whole Nigeria should support these bills because it is the best for us.
Thank you very much.
Well, thank you to all those who sent in your contributions. Some people sent them in without names. So thank you so much for your questions this evening. It is an ongoing discussion. We will continue to talk about this because, like I always love to say, Nigeria, the project Nigeria, belongs to you and me. We must continue to talk. We must continue to find a way forward, and we must continue to support that which will move us forward. Have a victorious evening.